Hello, this video is about the basics of how to write a two-column proof. So, first of all, two columns. The column on the left is the statement column, and the column on the right is for reasons. Okay, so you're always going to start off, the very first thing in the statements column is what they give you. So even if you don't know how to write a proof, you have no idea what direction to go, you can always start off with the right thing. Start with the given. Okay, and then on the statement side, what you're going to do is you're going to list all of the statements of fact that prove the proof. Okay, so when I say list the statements of facts, what I mean by that is, like, if you're comparing two triangles and you're going to use side, 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 then under the statement side, you have to list what side is equal to what side, and then what side is equal to what side, and what side is equal to what side. So you have to list all the sides, or you might have to list what angle is equal to what angle. List statements of fact. So what that means is you're going to have an idea of where you're going, right? You're going to have to look at your triangles and figure out, before you start this part, whether or not you think those two triangles are congruent by side, 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 or side, angle, side, or whether or not you think they're not going to be congruent, or you have to make a plan. So after you make your plan, you're going to list your facts according to that plan. All right, so the order that you put those in is not important. Okay, and then the last thing on the statement side is going to be whatever it is that you're trying to prove. So they're going to give you a statement and they're going to say, given this, prove this. And whatever they're asking you to prove is what goes last. Okay, the last thing here is the statement you're proving. Okay, so the things that go on the reason side are the reasons why you know the statements are true. First of all, whatever statements they give you, that goes first. And then the reason that matches that statement goes on the reasons column. So given, the reason for the given is just given to you in problem. As you go and you list your given statements and you put the word given as the reason for each statement, you should also go ahead and mark those things in your picture. Okay, so the first reason is going to be given, and then the reasons that come after that are all going to match the statements that you made. So each reason is going to correspond to a statement. How do you know that that statement's true? Why is it true? Okay, so what are some kinds of things that you're going to use as your reasons? Well, you're going to use definitions. Like maybe it's the midpoint, so you're going to say midpoint definition or a bisector definition. You're going to use definitions. You're also going to use properties, like the reflexive property, or you can use postulates. Okay, so good. And then if it's a triangle, the last thing that you're going to have in this column, and we're going to be writing a lot of proofs about proving triangles equal, is one of your postulates as far as side, 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 angle, side. That's what's going to be last. Okay, so for triangles, the last thing is either a congruence theorem, like side, 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 angle, side, 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 HL, okay, any of the congruence theorems, or the last thing could be CP, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, which you may or may not have learned yet. So these are the kind of things you give as your reasons. Let's look at a couple of examples of writing these proofs. Okay, in this example, we are given that angle B is equal to angle E, and that C is the midpoint of BE, and they're asking us to prove that the two triangles on top and bottom here are congruent. So we're going to set up our two-column proof. Okay, now I know that the first thing in my statements column is going to be whatever they have as the given. So it says that angle B is equal to angle E. Let's put that first. All right, and the reason that I know that is because it's given. So my first reason over here is always the same, pretty much, given. All right, and as I go, I want to mark that in the picture. So in the picture, let's mark angle B congruent to angle E. Okay, next it says for my given statement that C is the midpoint of BE. So let's list that in our statements column as our next given. And again, that's given. Okay, now let's mark that in our picture. So let's look at our picture. We have BE, that's from here to here. And we can see that C is in the middle. So if C is in the middle of this line, then what does that tell us about these two pieces of the line, this piece and this piece? Well, if C is in the middle, then it splits the line in half. So it looks like we can mark that in our picture by marking this piece of the line equal to this piece of the line, since we know C is in the middle. So that is what we're going to need to say next in our statements. Since we were able to mark that in our picture, and we knew that those two pieces were equal, let's list it in our statements. We have this piece, B to C, being congruent to this piece, E to C. And how did we know that those two pieces were equal? Well, they were equal because of the midpoint. So this is definition of midpoint. Okay. So now I'm done with my givens, and I've marked them in the picture. So now I'm to the part of my statements where I need to list out my statements of fact that will let me make a conclusion about these triangles. So I need to make a plan. Let's look at the triangle and decide whether or not we actually think these two triangles are congruent, and what congruence theorem we think we want to end with, like why are they congruent by side, 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 angle, side, what? Okay, so when I look at these two triangles, I see that I already have an angle and a side marked. Hey, here's an angle right here that looks like it's equal. What kind of an angle is this? These are vertical angles. So I have vertical angles that are equal right here. Now, we need to name this angle, these two angles that are equal. This one up here and this one here. We need to name them with 3 letters. We cannot just name it angle C, because if I say angle C, I don't know which part of C I'm talking about. So I need to be specific. I need to say angle, let's say angle ACB is congruent to, on the bottom is congruent to ECD. Okay, and the reason I know that those two angles are equal is because they are vertical angles. Now, are these two triangles congruent? So far I have a side marked, an angle marked, and a side marked and an angle. Well, that's it. Angle, side, angle. Actually, I'm done. I have angle, side, angle, and so that's a good reason why these two triangles can be congruent. So I'm done with my proof because I have an angle, side, angle marked in my picture, and in my statements I've already listed my angle, my side, and my angle are all listed right there. So I can now be done. I can come to my conclusion. The last thing in the statements column is always what? It's always what you're trying to prove. So now I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and write down the thing that I'm trying to prove goes last in this column. Okay, and the reason that these two triangles are congruent, I just said, was angle, side, angle. And that's it. Now let's see if we can prove that these two triangles are congruent. This time I'm giving that AC bisects these two different angles. So let's go ahead and set it up, our 2 columns. And I know that my very first thing here is going to be whatever is given to me. So I'm going to copy down this given statement about AC bisecting both these angles into my statements column. Why do I know that? Because it was given. Okay, now let's see if we can mark that in the picture. First of all, AC bisects BAD. Find angle BAD. BAD, and since A is in the middle, A must be the vertex from B to A to D. So they're talking about this entire corner right here, this whole angle right here, BAD. Now it says that AC bisects that. What does it mean to bisect something? Well, bisect means that it splits it in half. So that means that this piece on top must be equal to the piece here on the bottom. This piece and this piece must be equal if it's been bisected. So let's mark that. This one is equal to this one. Let's name that angle. That would be angle BAC is congruent to down here, angle DAC. Okay, and the reason that we know that those two are equal is because of it's a bisector, right? So that's going to be definition of bisector. And then it also says that AC bisects BCD. So now BCD, where's that at? So that's talking about this whole angle on this side. That means that this one and this one must be equal. Let's go ahead and mark that in our picture. And let's go ahead and list it as one of our statements for our facts. Okay, and we know that for the exact same reason, right? Again, that was because of the whole bisect thing. So that's definition of bisector. Okay, so now I'm done listing my givens and I'm done labeling them in the picture. Now I'm going to just kind of step back from the problem and look at it and decide whether or not I really think these two triangles are congruent, and if they are, why. Okay, so I look at this picture, I can see that I've got an angle and an angle already marked. In order for them to be congruent, I need a third piece of information. Well, it looks like these two triangles share a side. What do you call it when two things share a side like that? Well, it's reflexive. So it looks like the triangles are congruent, aren't they? Because now we're going to have a side angle. So, looking at what I already have down here, I already have this angle listed. I already have this angle listed. In order for me to finish this up, I need to have all my statements of fact listed. I'm going to have to also list the side that's equal. And then I'll be able to make my conclusion using angle, side, angle. We can say that AC from one triangle, CA in the other triangle. And that is our reflexive property. Okay, so now that I have my side and my angles listed, I'm going to say that I can reach my conclusion. So now the last thing in the statements column is always what you're trying to prove. So what I'm trying to prove, I'm going to copy that down here. And the reason that I know that those two triangles are congruent is I decided it was angle, side, angle. Great.